Good evening, Figaholic friends. Lately I've been getting asked more and more. I think more people watching all my videos. I've done over 300 videos in the past 5 weeks. And I've been asked this question before though too. Like, what's your favorite 3 figs? Or what's your favorite 1 fig? What's your favorite 5 figs? And usually I give the answer that I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I also tell people that I'm trying to put this, into perspective. What's important, for them. It's for their own taste preference. We all have different taste senses, and most of us, if we think a fig is sweet, it's sweet. But I know of a different fruit once where I didn't think a fruit was sweet at all. My friend Phil. It wasn't a fig, but he said, "Oh, it's very sweet," and it was kind of perplexing to me. And I think it's just due to our genetics. Sometimes we sense things differently, but still, just either what we've grown up eating and what we prefer, they're different. But for myself, I have about 350 varieties of figs, and I also think that I'm probably not the best person to ask what my favorite 5 figs are. If I was able to figure that out, I probably would not have 350 varieties. I sometimes say that I hope to cut back and slow down, actually somewhat retire someday. I'm quite busy with figs and other crops on our farm, and I thought, what's going to happen if I do that? I'm going to have to reduce the number of figs in my collection. And I wonder, it's a question in my mind all the time, how many could I cut back to? And I think that probably realistically it would be 50 figs. And I even think sometimes because of traffic going by our farm here and regulations, maybe someday I'll just sell the farm and move into town. But I maybe want a half-acre lot, I thought. But I thought I would probably grow at least 5 fig trees, but I maybe would have them grafted to 50 varieties perhaps. And I don't think I could easily cut back to, maybe I could do 25, but not 3 figs or not 5 figs. It'd be quite hard after all the time I've spent with these. But some of the reason for enjoying some of my figs too is not just based on taste. Sometimes it's reliability and performance, like Birds of Saute Grease. It's quite dependable. It produces Breva of decent quality for me. Also, just ever-bearing. It produces early in the season and all the way late in the season. And so, I appreciate, its reliability, and it's not the best tasting fig, but quite good. I think I would say very good. Also, my father's parents immigrated from Madeira, Portugal, about 100 years ago. I say about 100 years ago because my grandfather made 3 trips here, and not because he was indecisive about moving to California. Conditions were much better here than in Madeira, not maybe at wintertime weather, but just the economic prospects. Then they were a very poor family in Madeira, and he had a successful farming life here. So I like figs that came from Madeira, even though I don't know if my grandparents ate any figs in Madeira. When I visited their hometown in 2004 of Cañas, Madeira is upper elevation, not real high, but I saw cherimoya growing there, and cherimoya requires some chill. And some bananas, though, and I don't recall what else. They grew a type of sweet potato. But as far as, figs, I don't know. I heard from a family friend, that's my dad's cousin's stepbrother, from Ponta del Sol further down. He says, they had more figs down there. It was hotter down there, so they grew more figs there. So perhaps my grandparents did eat some figs in Madeira, but I don't know of that. But still, I like to have figs from Madeira because of that, and especially black Madeira, which we know from our friend Francisco in Algarve, Portugal, is the official name for that fig is Violeta. And the same fig is also called Figo Preto. And some people argue that they're different, and I don't believe that they are. I've eaten a lot of them, and Madeira Island Black, I'm convinced, is the same also. They're all great figs. Another fig that came to us more recently, I have 7 trees behind me of white Madeira, very productive, and I don't know for a fact that it came from Madeira, but a collector or a small grower back east in Maryland, he met someone. It was a Greek man that actually had gotten this fig from someone supposedly from Madeira, and he called it white Madeira number 1. He had another white Madeira also, and I guess that was white Madeira number 2. I don't know if anybody else that's growing that, but white Madeira number 1 has been very productive for us. It's not early, but by mid-season it's cranking out figs constantly, very productive, and we've the last 2 years have picked some ripe fruit in December for us, so it's very reliable, great flavor. So I enjoy that both for its great taste and productivity, and its background supposedly coming from Madeira. I like all the striped figs just because of the beauty of them, and I think that's we should enjoy our fruits for their appearance as well as taste. And I would say the first striped fig I had was actually the very first great fig I had, and that's panache, or in French, bourgeoisote panache is also called. And I remember at the time I had about 12 figs I was growing, and I never imagined I would get the amount of figs I am growing now then, but when I ate some of those ripe panache, I remember very clearly how great they were. I'll say too, as a kid growing up, my dad, we had some fig trees around our house, but my dad would typically pick them too early because he didn't want the birds getting them all, so I didn't really enjoy figs. But I had no idea until I had some panache of how great some of these berry flavored figs were. I thought it was like strawberry jam. And so that really motivated me to start trying more figs, pursuing different flavors, and that's a great thing about figs. And so trying to limit myself to 5 or something like that, I think that really greatly takes away from the great thing we have with figs, is that there's such great diversity. Yes, there's some that I like better than others, and generally I prefer berry flavored figs over sweet honey type figs, but I enjoy those sweet honey types as well. Jurupa was the first one I grew of that from my friend Don Polinsky, and I still grow that. That's one of the first 3 figs I planted. I would say in general, if I have a couple bites of a sweet fig like that, that's enough. I wouldn't say it's boring, but I want more wow flavor, I guess. But if I have too many of these berry type fruits too, they can be overpowering, and I guess my taste buds are shot for a while until I eat something else. And so I like switching from one to the other. Some of the other great figs that I really would not want to be without, I'm just thinking mentally here, going down the rows of my orchard where I go, Ziti is a great fig from Tunisia, really nice, and Enchario Preto is and I should back up to Ziti is a Smyrna type fig, so it's not suitable for people without having Capra figs and wasp in their area. Let me switch my arm here. And Enchario Preto, my friend Francisco from Algarve introduced it to people on a former forum where a lot of us chatted and told us about how great it was, and I do enjoy the fruits very much. And I did visit Francisco last year, and I visited an Enchario Preto farm with him, and We ate both fresh fruits and dried fruits, quite a bit of them, and I like them very much. It's not typical what I expect to see from a dark fig. It's a light pink pulp and very sweet. Not the berry flavor, but I enjoy the meatiness of it, the dense pulp, and very sweet flavor. Because of the sweetness, it dries very well. Emmeline's Purple, my friend Mike discovered that as a seedling, and it's a great fig. Lots of flower. Next to that, Socorro Black. A lot of the Malta figs I've enjoyed very much, and my friend George introduced those. I think it's just great that we are able to preserve those. Further down, Violet de Sole. I used to say Soles, but I guess Soleil is the way to pronounce that, or also known as Birds of Sauté Nord. And I'll say Violet de Sole, when I first had some significant fruits of it, I think it was in 2016, I was not impressed at all with it. In fact, I thought maybe I should get rid of it. I think some of the fruits had soured on me from what I recall, but I thought, oh, maybe this might be one I'll eventually cull. But the following year, in 2017, I got a lot of really fantastic fruits from it, and now I think that's a definite long-time, keeper for me. I wouldn't say my favorite fig, but one of them up there tied with my top 50, I guess. Maybe a top 25 if I have to cut it back to 25. In 2017, I did make some varietal fig jams, and I made Black Madeira and Figo Preto fig jam, and people kind of teased me or shook their head at me that I had so many Black Madeira that I had enough to make fig jam with it. And I had 9 pounds of fruit, and I made a good batch of jam. But the Violet de Soleil was by far the best, I thought. Some other figs, some surprises too. I know that I have some other great figs out of my orchard that I've not yet tasted the best of the fruits yet. When they get a little bit bigger, they'll be better yet. Capulcurt Negra was one of those that until the 3rd or 4th year, wow, it was really good, and it's still a top favorite. Near that is Victoria. People really rave about that. It's easy for me to forget about some figs. Near Victoria, I know it's Kezerani, and that was an unknown Greek fig, and introduced by Marius. And I know at first I was excited to have it, and people don't talk about it much now, and so because of that, it's out of my mind some. But I know when I was doing all these fig videos, it forces me to go to each tree, and when I taste it, I said, wow, I need to quit overlooking this fig so much. So again, ask me to name just 5. I'm going to forget about a fig like that. Italian 258 and Genovese Nero are very similar, and they might be the same fig. I seem to always see a bit of difference with them. I think that the Genovese Nero is a little more syrupy. I have 2 trees of each. Well, 3 of Genovese Nero, I guess. And so I get a fair amount of fruits on them to taste, more than most people. This Pelosica, the first, it's a Greek word, a name with 3 words. P. asprasica is a very good green fig that was introduced by my friend Andreas, and it was slow to produce for me, but I get some really great fruits from that, and that's one that I really like a lot. Barbera Branca is another fig, Portuguese fig that Francisco had introduced, and it's a very beautiful fig, very large, and usually large figs are not all that tasty, and this excellent. Unfortunately, birds really go after that a lot. I think that it's been explained before, some figs have maybe more of an aroma to them that attract the birds to them, but we're getting more of them this year now because of our bird scare devices and our propane cannon. And so that's a really good fig. Trying to think of some others around here. Oh, Bass Favorite Fig. It's his favorite. It's one of my favorites. Very large fruits, very good. Vista that I grow is probably the same as Violet de Bordeaux, and it's very good. They're smaller fruits, but that's okay. We don't need to eat just big bites all the time. I have Bordeaux Blanca Negra. I remember, in fact, the first time I tasted that fruit, it was on a tree that came to me, a cutting as Coldedama Blanca Negra. I was puzzled by this strange-looking Coldedama fig, and I ended up having a second tree already properly labeled as Bordeaux Blanca Negra, and I, about a half hour after tasting that first one, I tasted another one. I got some mosquitoes coming out here, and you know, that was so I had two. Usually I just have one tree of each, but I have two of that by mistake. Actually I have three. I have two of them by mistake and a third one because of someone else's mistake labeling error, and so that's a really good fig. Reminds me a lot of Panache. Bordeaux Rosa is very good, and I'm trying to just think up and down my rows there of ones that I really enjoy a lot. You know, Bordeaux Negra is said to be a synonym, at least Montserrat Pons in his book lists it as a synonym for Berger Sauté Nord and Violette de Soleil there, but it seems to be different, but it's very good. I have a dark version of Marco Polo, a Greek version. I got this from someone in Las Vegas that had gotten it from someone else. It was supposed to be the yellow version, which supposedly is better, but this is very good. Beltrana is near me. I'm in a small block of trees near my home here, and it's very good. I got some grapefruit. I can't remember if last year was the first time I got it or the year before, but last year lots of grapefruit and lots of grapefruit again this year. I have Pontressa, which is very good. It was slow to produce for me, but I think it lives up to the hype that Frank had first dished out on it. Is very good fig, and not large fruits, but very good. There's other figs that I just love, maybe more for the sentimental reasons, and I'll give a couple of examples. One is called Dominic's fig, and my friend Coop had made friends with an elderly man named Dominic, and they shared stories in their company for maybe 20 years and ate figs of Dominic's. Coop had started his own tree of that, and I already told this story on my Dominic video, but after Dominic passed on, we still have this tree to remember that great friendship, and it was centered around figs, and it's a great tasting fig, but the story behind it makes it special, and we can enjoy our food a little bit more slowly maybe and savor those stories. There's another fig, I won't give the background on it, but it's quite special to me, mostly because of my religious faith, it's not my favorite tasting fig, but it is very productive and reliable for me, good grower for me. But 2 days ago I took my dad some figs, and the first fig I gave him was one from that tree, and my dad is in hospice care now, living at home. He's doing okay, just not great. He's almost 95, and he's generally not too excited about food, but I gave him this fig, and he had a big smile on his face and said, "This is good." And so that's something I'm pretty sure with my memory, that's going to be a story that I remember also that makes that fig even more special. So again, Socorro Black is another one. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. Trying to go again up and down the road, but I can't even remember all my favorite figs. I need to look at my list and go out and hunt for them and enjoy them. And I think that all of us have different taste preferences, but we need to experience these ourselves and see what we prefer, what special stories we have with them, I think trying to pin me down to a favorite five is just not going to work. I have lots of favorites, and again, my favorite is going to be different than yours. I give some examples of some things. If I asked my dad, for instance, who was my grandmother's favorite child? Well, I don't think my grandmother would have picked a favorite out of 10 children then. And, you know, sometimes in some families with large families, you might be able to pick out the least favorite, maybe someone that was into mischief a lot. But I think the same thing with my figs there. I get quite attached to them, and, you know, a lot of work has gone into them. And I do get rid of some, and usually it's because of either they don't have a big story behind them, or they're very similar to some other figs I had. And so I make room for some others that I need to get away. Birds, these are mine. We don't have the bird scare devices by our house. I got this bird scare tape, but it's not quite effective. But I'll just say one more that comes to mind. I'm kind of eyeing it. Bordeaux Negro Armada is a great fig. It was such a challenge to grow until I grafted it and got it growing better. It's a really great fig to have. And I had Jade this year. That was really good, and the story behind that again. So I think, you know, trying to, you know, get someone else to help you make up your mind, you have to go through the experience yourself too. I've been quite collecting figs in a big way for I think 9 years now, before I had a small collection. And so and over those years my mind has changed some about figs, and so I think that, you know, you need to make up your own decisions on that, and, you know, the joy of trying them, and even laughing at some of the figs that we really went out of our way to get, and find out that they were not so great after all. You know, there's some fun in that too. So it's an experience. And if you have limited space, maybe, you know, do some grafting so you have got multiple grafted tree. So I'm sorry I didn't really answer your question, but you see what I'm up against myself, and I can't really do any better than that, but help you understand anyway why I avoid answering those questions outright. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.